Our guest today has been lead singer of one of Wales' most prestigious bands for over 20 years. They're releasing their 13th studio album, a band who've sold an astonishing 10 million albums worldwide, so he's getting the tease in today. Their early gigs were quite literally a riot, and of course they sell out stadiums. They're on the road again. It's all very exciting. James Dean Bradfield, welcome to Radio 2.
Hello, hello.
I have to say, one of my favourite intros through a door of a guest. You walked into the studio, James, and you said...
I said, it's not a cold sore, it's a pasty burn.
And with much hilarity. I didn't even notice it. That's the thing, James.
Well,
the all-important question, what was in the pasty? What was the filling?
It was, I think it was steak and Guinness, I think.
Should have come with a warning.
It should have come with a warning. At least it wasn't as tawdry as a hot apple pie from one of the other fast food outlets.
My children are shocked and appalled that I like those pies.
They are good.
They are good,
They're
though.
good for a rush.
But they're awful cold.
For that midday slump, they're pretty good, aren't they?
That's what you need. I have to say, completely, we're loving the singles across Radio 2. International Blue has actually been my earworm for the last 2 days. Distant Colour as well. So good. I feel like it was what the airwaves needed. Some new music from the Manics.
Well, I think we just kind of got a bit of that kind of naive post-punk kind of like a wind back in our sails. We've been away for a while. I mean, our last new kind of album was out 4 years ago, and we've done a couple of successive tours doing the anniversaries of the Holy Bible and Everything Must Go, and it was about time we put something new out. Otherwise, we're going to become a museum band. And I think taking time off a tiny bit just help that natural naivety and that slight punk rush just come back into us, and it was, it was something like International Blue really came so quickly, and we just didn't want to change it because it was kind of like being 23 again. You were kind of doing something which is slightly shiny and naive, and it was just really cool to do.
I love hearing you talk like that as well. You can see that. Your eyes are twinkling, man. And I mean, after releasing 12 albums, lucky 13, do you still get anxious as a band that, before everybody gets to hear, I guess you must be playing it to mates and stuff along the way, but how do you feel before the release of one of your babies?
I think you have one beautiful free moment when you finish the record. You finished mixing it, you finish recording it, and then, I drive up to London and I go and get it mastered. Yeah. Usually at a place in a studio in Chiswick called Metropolis, and then you drive away again and you listen to the album completely finished, in its order, with all the right gaps and sounding as it should sound. And the first time you listen to it, as you think was going to be, is the freest you're ever going to feel about it. And then after that, it's a lot of fear.
Yeah.
Excitement, definitely, but I think we still get quite scared when we put records out. And, everything has changed since we put our first album out.
Yeah.
Everything has changed. So kind of like, you always get that fear, is the audience still there? And are we as good as we think we are?
But just on the singles alone, I think that love has been huge as well. You recorded in a new studio. Sounds beautiful. Door to the River studio. Is there a door to the river?
Well, there is. I mean, we overlook. We're overlooking the valley into Newport, but we're in the countryside. We're right in farmland. So it's kind of. I love it when you can see kind of the urban from the rural. I love that kind of mixture. And the river's down in the valley. And it's one of our songs, Door to the River. Yeah. It's a bit of an old, lost Manic song. So it felt, because, our previous studio was in Cardiff, and it was called Faster Studios.
Yeah.
And when we built this studio, we thought, this is going to see us out to the end of our days. So it's more bucolic, more restful. We thought, so therefore we should name it accordingly. And it's called Door to the River.
But
perfect. The pigs are getting into our garden and just digging holes, looking for truffles or something.
If you'd warned them, they're not going to find any truffles there. That's the thing, we love pigs. We don't we? But they do make a mess.
They do. They're pretty aggressive. They're pretty obstinate as well. Nobody else will clear them up from the garden except me. So I'm the guardian of the garden.
Well, I love that you're doing this as well. The double life of the modern Manic Street preachers now. Themes that have been mentioned in reviews of the album stuff: memory, loss, forgotten history, confused reality. What were you were talking about? Sort of getting back to the old sort of Manics way. What were the feelings behind?
Well, I think I think that there are two sides to the record. There is that trying to find some sense in the confusion of successive events, whether it be post-Trump, whether it be post-referendum, whether it be post-general election, lots of events. And then I think the other half of the album is still finding inspiration. Still writing about things that inspire you. Yeah. So there are songs like International Blue, which is about Eve Klein. There are songs like Dylan and Caitlin, which is not inspired by their relationship, but it's definitely interested in their relationship.
This is fascinating. So this is Dylan Thomas, the poet, and his wife,
and his partner, Caitlin.
Who had sort of a tempestuous
It sounds like a harsh
relationship. Yeah.
Well, it's a harsh phrase to use, but it was kind of co-abusive in an emotional sense, I think. And, they just wrung each other dry. They wrung the bottle dry. They wrung their talents dry. But it's just kind of interesting to write about, because sometimes when you're on the outside looking in, of course, you don't want to be in that environment. But I suppose it's entertaining to look at, not entertaining, just absolutely fascinating. And there are other songs like Liverpool Revisited, which is inspired by Liverpool culture and its victory in its campaign. And there's songs like, Vivian, which is about the photographer Vivian Mayer. So I think we still have that kind of, that weird polarity of just taking inspiration from things that we find interesting, that we love, and also trying to make sense of the utter confusion that's going on around us, I think.
Okay. Let's hear Distant Colour. Say what you want. That's the current single, Distant Colours. The Manic Street Preachers, James is with us. You're talking about, Vivian, the track, writing about Vivian Mayer. Now, some people may not have heard of her. There's a fantastic documentary about her, isn't there? Tell us more about her.
There is, yeah. I mean, I think Nick fell in love just with her life, the idea of her life, because, to cut a long story short, she was a nanny on the eastern seaboard of America. Not a very good nanny, apparently. She really had no family. She had no personal life. And while she was on the job being a nanny and in her spare time, she just took photographs obsessively and never really developed many of them, never really developed many of her own prints, not many. And when she died, her collection ended up in a public lot sale in New York. And a guy that was fascinated with buying old photographs and negatives just bought up this entire collection. I quickly started going through it and realised that she was up there with the major reportage, kind of like photographers of the 50s and the 60s. And he started investigating her life and put the book out. And it's just, I think Nick fell in love with that idea of somebody who was a true artist, because she didn't want any feedback. She didn't want any credit. She didn't want any interaction. She just did it, and she became amazing at it. And it's interesting that, people like MoMA in New York, they still don't quite accept how good she was, because they didn't discover it. They didn't know, they can't own her. And I think he just found the idea of somebody who is a true artist, who really just is immersed and does it because they love it and doesn't want any credit. I think he found the idea of that fascinating, I think.
I know, and it's a beautiful record as well. I'm obsessed with the opening to Broken Algorithms, by the way. I got lost in that this morning and had it on repeat.
Well, that's what we do naturally, I think.
Yeah.
Nick and Sean, really are a heavy rhythm section. I've lost my voice countless times on tour because they are just brutal live. They are utterly brutal. They have no kind of sense of kind of like, trying to foster kind of like some kind of tenderness towards the vocalist. I've got to try and sing above them. And I think, when we play like that, that is just our default setting.
Yeah.
And it's a bit indulgent of us, with the lyric and the way it's played. It is kind of, there's a bit of Rush in there, there's a bit of Iron Maiden, there's a bit of Pistols in there, a bit of Black Sabbath, a bit of Magazine, there's a bit of everything,
I know, it did remind me of a mutual friend of ours, Robin Turner. I remember being in a tent with him talking about Rush, and I was thinking about him whilst I was listening to that. And speaking of playing live, you're back out on the road. I mean, this is exciting stuff. You've got some, you're playing, was it 23rd of April, 25th of April, 27th, 28th, big arenas, Newcastle, Glasgow, Birmingham and Manchester, and then off to Llandudno, Leeds, London, huge, Cardiff, and then all the huge festivals in the summer. How excited are you to be back on the road?
I am excited. Yeah. I am. I mean, kind of you'll hear the kind of, as a father of very two young children, when you go away, you're going to get a better sleep.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what it's come to. You've got to go on the road to get a bit of peace and quiet.
But no, it'll be amazing. It will be brilliant. It's kind of like, it's good to be with Nick and Sean because it's such a comfortable viper's nest in the back of the bus with them. They kind of have little arguments and little debates, and then the guns always inevitably turn on me. The rhythm section turns on me and they start having a go at me. And it's in a really cool, loving way. So
that's the way it is in in rock and roll.
It
though.
is,
You've
yeah.
known that from the beginning.
We have, yes.
You
we
knew
have.
what you were getting involved
Yes,
in.
and it's just really cool. You know, it kind of, we're so comfortable in each other's presence that sometimes I think we've got to pretend to be more agitated than we are.
Fantastic. And how will you celebrate 20 years of This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours? All these anniversaries that are coming up are freaking me out because it just makes me realise how much older we all are. But I feel young.
I know. Every day I wake up, new look has gone. You know, it started with Woolworths about 15 years ago.
What happened to C&A?
All the totem poles of our lives are disappearing. I don't know. I mean, Director of Communications, Mr. Nicholas Allen Wire, will tell me if we'll be doing something about it. I'm not sure.
Fantastic. It's so wonderful to see. I mean, the stuff you take on tour, has that changed much? I mean, there's a nice bit of tailoring going on for you guys.
For Nick, yeah. I mean, I dress a bit more like a utilitarian ditch digger. It's a bit like that band Cheap Trick from the 70s, where the main guitarist was never as glamorous as the singer, kind of thing. But I think Nick has got ambitions to dress me up a bit this time, like a doll.
Oh, I like it.
We shall see.
Well, listen, good luck with the tour. Loving the album Resistance is Futile, which is coming out on the 13th of April, a single Distant Colours. We're playing across Radio 2. We love it all. Manic Street Preachers on tour near you. James, thanks so much for coming in.
Pleasure.
On a Saturday. Really lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.